With Jujutsu Kaisen back in full swing after 2 whole years after season 1 ended and the Shibuya arc now airing, I thought that it would finally be time for me to actually talk about my feelings towards this particular series. Feelings that have gradually shifted over these last couple of years and have put me in a strange position where I love Jujutsu Kaisen but at the same time I hate Jujutsu Kaisen with a fiery, burning passion. Please don't harass me in the comments. I've always had a strange relationship with Gege Akutami's work. On one end of the spectrum, JJK ticks almost every box when it comes to my personal taste that would make it a great show, not only as a battle shonen, but as a genuinely fun and interesting show overall. It has dynamic fight scenes, a large cast of interesting characters, villains that aren't just mustache twirling sociopaths, beautiful animation, an amazing soundtrack, a pretty unique and interesting power system, and that one character that makes every Twitter user horny. Now, you, my dear viewer, would think that everything I just listed would mean that I think JJK is a really good series, right? Right? On a surface level, Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't really reinvent the wheel or formula that its predecessors created. It won't be legacy defining the way shows like Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, and Hunter x Hunter are, and it doesn't have the same impact that something like One Piece would ever have, but despite that, it has managed to become not only one of the best anime currently airing, but also one of the best manga currently publishing on Shonen Jump. The reason for this is that Jujutsu Kaisen takes all the best aspects of all those series that came before it. It sprinkles in a little bit of that seinen edge you'd find in something like early Berserk, and once it has its foot on the gas, it absolutely refuses to stop. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm praising Jujutsu Kaisen after literally saying 2 minutes ago that I said I hate it. But the reason for this is that Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 is kinda boring? It's not bad by all means. I want to make it very clear that season 1 still slaps hard. But the biggest problem I had with season 1 and its 24 episode run is how aimless it sort of felt. Again, I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying that Gege didn't plan out his story properly or that Jujutsu Kaisen has never had a clear vision in the story it wants to portray. Gojo wanting his students to live and enjoy their teenage years while he and the other adults shoulder the weight and responsibility of being Jujutsu sorcerers is a central theme of the story. Adults shouldering the responsibility of the world so their kids don't suffer. It's the same thing with Yuji's goal of forming meaningful bonds, so when he dies he's surrounded by the people who care about him. The idea that connection and forming close relationships with people through kindness and camaraderie that helps our lives have meaning. Again, I want to emphasize that season 1 of JJK is very good, but it often felt very aimless amidst all the high octane action fight scenes, the long-winded explanations of characters explaining how their powers worked. Again, I'm not reading a fucking guide so I can understand how Hikari's powers work, and damn near lack of character development that we get that made season 1 a bit uninteresting to me. It's why a lot of people, myself included, didn't think that characters like Yuji were all that memorable or villains like Jogo and Mahito were annoying, because I wasn't invested enough to give a shit. I just wanted to get to the next action set pieces. All of that changed though when I finally read the manga. I swear this video is about season 2. Before we continue the video, I'd appreciate it if you guys could leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It doesn't take long and it helps me out because it shows me what type of videos people want to see. That's pretty much it. Let's get on with the video. Now, the next thing I'm about to say might get me crucified, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Hidden Inventory is the best arc in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Yes, I've read the Shibuya incident arc, and I think in terms of delivering the most hype to the story, Shibuya stands above the rest. Same thing with the Culling Games arc and the current arc happening with the Shinjuku Showdown arc, but in terms of narrative, Hidden Inventory is by far the best arc in the entire series. The arc feels so well paced, so well structured, and doesn't drag on for too long to the point of annoying me. It's rare for me to genuinely be invested in character backstories unless I genuinely like the character I'm watching, and seeing not only Gojo but Geto's backstory as well felt so satisfying.
Now then, once again, I hate monkeys.
Geto in season 1 felt like this mysterious figure that had so much mystery surrounding him. It felt like Gege was teasing us by slowly drip feeding us information on who he was, by making him this character who, from what it seemed like, was someone who was pulling the strings from the shadows. And if you are someone who hadn't read the manga at the time and only watched Jujutsu Kaisen 0, then seeing him act this way must have felt like absolute whiplash. One moment he seemed like this calm, passive figure, the next moment he was calling people monkeys. I'm offended because I'm black. It felt very bizarre, but hidden inventory perfectly explains how he became like this. One of the reasons I love this arc so much is the fact that the main villain of it, Toshi Fushiguro, had such a massive influence on the story, and he didn't even appear for more than 10 chapters of the manga. This one person in less than 10 chapters had more of an impact in the entire story than the main villain Sukuna had in almost 100 chapters of the manga. Without Toji, Geto's descent into madness and Gojo reaching enlightenment and becoming the strongest in the series wouldn't have happened. Another thing I'd like to point out is that the structure of this arc showed me how layered and subtle Gege's writing is. I missed it the first time I read it in the manga, but the conversation between Geto and Gojo about the strong protecting the weak felt all the more important when you realize that their role switches by the end of the arc. Gojo at the start of it was someone who didn't really value anything besides strength. He was this young, arrogant teenager who didn't really value the life of anyone who wasn't strong, while Geto was the one who taught him to understand that it was his responsibility as someone strong to protect the weak. It's only after the encounter with Toji that we see the mental strain of the world of Jujutsu sorcery has put on him. That, coupled with the fact that he wasn't Gojo's equal anymore, and the isolation from going on missions alone pushed him even further towards the cliff before Yuki gave him the push that would eventually result in his spiral, which resulted in the switch between Gojo and Geto's roles. While most manga or anime struggled to do this in 100 chapters, it only took Jujutsu Kaisen 14, and I think that is really impressive. Now for the negatives. Since I don't want to make it seem like this arc didn't have a few fumbles, there are a few, but nothing so major that I think the arc is bad. But I do wish that we got more information on the dynamic between Shoko, Geto, and Gojo, and the importance of Shoko and the relationship between the three of them. Same thing with Urahime and Meimei. Tabari's death could have had more of an impact if we had seen Geto talk more with him, and this isn't just a hidden inventory problem, but just a problem I have in general with the series as a whole, and that's characters explaining their fucking curse techniques before and during the fight. I know there's an in-universe explanation to this, but I swear Jujutsu Kaisen would be so much better if characters weren't waffling about their techniques every 5 pages or stopping the fight so Gojo could explain how red and blue works. If Mappa just did the ufotable thing of just letting the fight happen while letting the techniques get explained through the fighting, then talking about it for 5 fucking... Sorry, I lost my cool there for a second. Jujutsu Kaisen has really taken the world by storm, and I'm really excited for how the upcoming Shibuya arc is gonna look. Mappa has done a fantastic job so far, and I'm excited to see what comes next. They put their whole map pussy, why did I say that, into this anime adaptation. But if you'd like to see other anime adaptations that are equally as good as their source material, check out my last video that's on the screen. You won't regret it.